السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كلامه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, today's topic is the rights of parents, the respect, the service, our duty towards them, how to fulfill their rights during their lifetime and after their death. This is not only the rights, imagine, not only during their lifetime, but after they have left this world, passed away, they still have rights that we need to fulfill. And what Quran and Hadith, what Allah Azza wa Jal and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have taught us in this regard. There's one interaction of a father and son that I would like to highlight, and that is the interaction of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his father. The father was a mushrik. Imagine, not only was he a mushrik committing high crime, high treason against Allah Azza wa Jal, but he was also he used to carve idols, he used to make the statues. And when he tells his son that I will stone you, لَأَهْجُرَنَّكَ وَأَهْجُرْنِي مَلِيًّا, I will stone you to death. This is what the father is saying to the son Ibrahim alayhi salam. And look at the response of the son Ibrahim. Salamun alayk, salam to you, O my father. سوف أستغفر لك ربي إنه كان بي حفيا, I will seek forgiveness for you, O my father. And when this same son Ibrahim alayhi salam invites his mushrik father to Islam, towards Tawheed, to monotheism, how does he address his father? Imagine, Ya abati lima ta'budu ma la yasma'u wa la yubsiru wa la yughni anka shay'a. Oh my dear father, not just father, oh my dear father, as you would say in Urdu, Abba Jan, oh my beloved father, why do you worship something that cannot hear you, that cannot see you, that cannot benefit you? Ya abati lima ta'budu shaitan. Oh my dear father, why do you worship shaitan? In other words, follow the footsteps of shaitan. Father and son interaction. Our fathers, alhamdulillah, for the most part are believers. Those who are reverts, converted to Islam, may Allah guide their parents to Islam. But our parents who are Muslims, our grandparents are Muslims, what do you think their rights are? If this is the right of a mushrik father, and this is how a son is addressing his mushrik father, how should we address our fathers? How should we address our parents when they are believers? Islam has truly raised the bar. Raised the bar to such an extent where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, Rida Rab fi ridal walidain wa sakhatul Rab fi sakhatil walidain. Allah's pleasure is in the parent's pleasure, and Allah's displeasure is in the parent's displeasure. In other words, if the parents are happy, Allah is happy. And if the parents are unhappy, Allah is unhappy. If the parents are displeased with you, then Allah Azza wa Jalla is also displeased with you. Obedience, disobedience. What is included in obedience? What is included in the list of disobedience? Someone asked Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, the Ra'isul Mufassirin, what is included in the list of obedience when Quran instructs us to be obedient to our parents? Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu replied, the list is very long. Then he was asked, what is included in the list of being disobedient. Disobedient. He said the list is very long. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anh again replied, the list is very long, but I will tell you one thing. إِذَا قَامَ الْوَلَدْ عَلَى جَانِبِ وَالِدِهِ, when the son is standing next to his father, ثُمَّ نَفَذَ ثَوْبَهُ, and the son does this to his cloth, to his clothes. فَطَارَ الْغُبَارِ عَلَى وَالِدِهِ, and some of that dust flies and lands on his father who is standing next to him. All the son did was, and some of that dust lands on the father. كُتِبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَقَّاء, he will be written in Allah's book as disobedient. This was a sign of disrespect, and he caused his father discomfort by doing this. Islam has truly raised the bar. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there's an incident in his life where a son came to him, came to the court of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and lodged a complaint against the father. That my father, he spends my wealth. He spends my wealth. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told the son, go and call your father. So now the son goes and tells the father, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is calling you. Obviously the father knows why. He knows that my own son has complained about me in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and now here I am being dragged into the court of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the father on his way, they're both walking, father and son are walking to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the way, while they're walking, the father, he thinks of some poetry in his mind. He's thinking, mind is always thinking. And they were poets by nature. They had the command. Poetry requires command of the language, whether it's English poetry or Urdu poetry or Arabic poetry. It's not easy. It's a higher intellectual level and a high command of the language. And they used to say poetry impromptu, badihatan, without having to sit down with a pen and paper and think for hours and hours about writing a poem. Just impromptu, this poetry would come to their mind. So he's thinking of a poem. And they reached Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's court, his house. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam first asks the father about the complaint that his son had made. That the son says you are spending his money. The father replied, O Nabi of Allah, I'm spending on his maternal aunts and his paternal aunts. His aunts, maternal and paternal, are poor. So I am spending it on them. In other words, I'm spending it on a good cause. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam told the father, asked the father, what is that poetry that you were thinking of while you were coming here? Why? Jibreel alayhi salam had informed Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that asked him about the poetry that he had made up in his mind while he was coming to your place. So this father, Sahabi, he says, O Nabi of Allah, every event, every incident only increases our iman in you, because I swear by Allah, my own ears have not heard of this poetry. I only thought of it in my mind. How did Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam know? Jibreel alayhi salam had informed him. So then the father begins to say the poetry, long poem, in which he basically puts his heart out and complains about how he was so happy, the father, when his son was born, and how much sacrifice he gave. Illa sahiran mutamalmilu, that when the son is sick, when our son or daughter is sick, that I used to spend, the father is saying, I used to spend the whole night awake, sleepless, tossing and turning, كَأَنِّي أَنَا الْمَتْرُوكُ دُونَكَ بِالَّذِي تُرِكْتَ بِهِ, as if I was the one who was sick and not you. That is how much I sacrificed for you, O my son. تَخَافُ الرِّدَاءَ عَلَى نَفْسِهَا وَإِنَّهَا لَتَعْلَمُ أَنَّ الْمَوْتَ حَتْمٌ مُؤَجَّلُ. And whenever you used to cough or have a high fever, I used to fear the worst. I used to think that this was your time and you would die, even though deep down I knew that death could not come to you because death is predetermined. But that's how much I was afraid for your safety and for your life. As parents, we think the worst when something happens. And then he says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغْتَ السِّنَّ وَالْغَايَةِ جَعَلْتَ جَزَائِي جِبْهًا وَغِلْظَةً. And when you turned into your prime age of adulthood, 6 feet tall, standing on your own 2 feet, you rewarded me by frowning at me and by treating me with harshness and rudeness. كَأَنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْمُتَفَضِّلُ الْمُتَنَعِّمُ. As if I am standing here waiting for a handout, as if you are doing a favor to me by spending on me, as if I am the beggar and you are the master. This is the poetry the father had made up while he was coming to and walking to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Every father, every mother has a desire to see their son and daughter reach that prime age of adulthood. And when you reach that prime age of adulthood, how did you reward me? You rewarded me with frowning at me. And you rewarded at me by looking down at me, as if I'm here standing waiting for a handout and you are the wealthy master. إِذْ لَمْ تَرَى حَقَّ أُبُوَّتِي إِذْ لَمْ تَرْعَى حَقَّ أُبُوَّتِي. If you could not have given me the respect and the dignity that a father deserves, فَعَلْتَ كَمَا الْجَارُ الْمُجَارُ يَفْعَلُ. You could have at least treated me like how a neighbor treats a neighbor. At least with that level of civility. If you could not have treated me like a father, how a father deserves to be treated by his son, you could have at least treated me like a neighbor. A long poem. As I said, they used to say poetry impromptu. And then he looks up and he sees Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's beard is dripping with tears. Then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, Anta wa maluka li abik, Anta wa maluka li abik, Anta wa maluka li abik. You and your property belong to your father. You and your property belong to your father. You and all your wealth and money belong to your father. So what is the right of a father? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could not have spelled it out better. Rida Rabb fi ridal walidain. Wa sakhatul Rabb sakhatul walidain. If your parents are happy, Allah is happy. And if your parents are unhappy, Allah is unhappy with you. Inna awsata abwabil jannah al-ab. The father is the middle gate to Jannah. Sometimes we emphasize mother. Yes, mother has rights, and we know the hadith. But sometimes we don't emphasize the rights of the father enough. Mother deserves our care, our sympathy, our service. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu reports that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was asked, Man ahaqqu bi husni sahabati or suhbati. Who is most deserving of my service? Because a woman is more vulnerable. She doesn't have the financial resources at times, so she's more vulnerable. So who is more deserving of my service? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, Ummuk, then who? Ummuk, then who? Ummuk, then who? Abuk, your father. So 75% goes to the mother and 25% goes to the father. But Islam is a balanced religion. It's not going to give this to the mother without giving something to the father. So what does the father get? The father gets respect. Treating the father with respect and obeying the father. And of course being of service to him. And this will not only benefit us in the hereafter, it benefits us in this world. Hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Man sarrahu an yumadda lahu fi atharihi wa yuzadu fi rizqihi falyabirra liwalidayhi. If you want your rizq to increase, your sustenance to increase, then show kindness to your parents. Yes, if things are looking up for us and life seems to be going well, it's probably because of the du'as of our parents or our grandparents. And if our life is very bumpy, lot of tough times in our life, one after the other, it's probably because we are deprived of the du'as of our parents. Yes. And I sincerely believe this. It's because what's so special about us? What have we done? There's people who are a lot more qualified than us. Why is life so good for us here in this country? Some dua of someone up there in the chain. Either our father, mother, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-grandparents, someone has something to do with it, not us. Not us. So to show kindness to parents, to be of service to them. And in this country, I say, they don't need, our parents do not need our financial support. In the countries that we come from, there is no 401k. There is no social security, right? So the parents are financially dependent upon the children. In many of the countries that we come from. In this country, are the parents financially dependent upon the children? For the most part, no. What do they want from us then? What do they want from us? They want a smile. They want kind words. They want that you sit down with them, talk to them, tell them how your day went. Yes. May Allah keep it so. May Allah keep it so that the parents are never financially dependent on their children. But if they are, then of course children need to step up to the plate. But 9 out of 10 times, parents in this country do not need their children financially. What do they want from you? What do they want from you? A smile, a few kind words. To share your feelings, to give them time. That's all that they're asking for. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the tawfiq, the ability to practice, to be all good, to show our duty to Allah Azza wa Jal and to our parents. 6 things Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned in pairs of 2. One is salat and zakat. Where Allah has mentioned salat, He has mentioned zakat. 32 or 33 places in the Quran. Aqimus salah wa atuz zakah. Aqimus salah wa atuz zakah. Aqimus salah wa atuz zakah. Establish salat, pay zakat. And obedience to Allah and His Messenger. Atiullah wa atiur Rasul. Atiullah wa atiur Rasul. Obey Allah, obey the Messenger. What else has Allah mentioned in pair of 2? وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Worship Allah. In other words, perform your duty to Allah Azza wa Jal, and kindness to parents. Perform your duty to your parents. Anishkur li wali walidaik. Anishkur li wali walidaik. Quran says, be thankful to me. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, be thankful to me. Do shukr of me. Anishkur li wali walidaik. And do shukr of your parents. Show gratitude to me and show gratitude to your parents. So those whose both parents are alive, they have an opportunity. It's an opportunity. If one of them has passed away, they still have an opportunity to please their parents and gain Allah's pleasure. And if both of them have passed away, then they still have rights that you can fulfill. Make dua for them. The least you can do is make dua for them. And to give sadaqah on their behalf. That's something else that you can do. Do good deeds on their behalf. May Allah Azza wa Jalla accept from all of us. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Please pray your sunnah.